Hi, I'm Tierney with the State Council of Higher Education for Virginia. In this video today, I'm going to show you how to successfully complete a Virginia Alternative State Aid application, also known as the VASA application, by walking you through each step of the application process. There are a few things I want to go over before I start. The first is that the VASA application is very similar to the FAFSA, so most of the questions are the same. For today, I won't have time to review each question in detail, but there are helpful notes under each question. And you can also review our VASA application resources on our launch page, as well as the FAFSA resources at studentaid.gov, since the applications are similar. The application is in English and Spanish. The application includes skip logic, which means the questions you receive will depend on how you answer previous questions. For example, a male applicant will see a selective service registration question, unlike a female applicant. For this demonstration, I'm going to complete the application as a male under the age of 24, since that's a common applicant scenario, and it will allow you to see more questions and the parent signature process. So let's get started. To begin the application, I am going to go to our launch page, and I would type in my browser www.vasaapp.org and hit enter. All right, so the first thing you'll see on our launch page are the steps to apply for state financial aid here. And then as you scroll down, you should see information on who should file a FAFSA versus who should file a VASA application. And then below that, you will see helpful resources, and that includes a checklist of the information you need to complete a VASA application, as well as a sheet of frequently asked questions that'll be very helpful during the process of completing a VASA application and after. So I recommend that you bookmark this page here, because you will have to go back to it later if you want to file a VASA application in the future years. You would just go here to sign in again into the account you already created. So you would click this button here, file a VASA application, once you're ready to start that process. For today, I am going to switch to our internal test site just so I can do a sample application for this demonstration. All right, so as you can see here, this is a sign in and sign up page. I will be a new student today, and so I am going to click down at the bottom where it says sign up to create an application. So here there's information about who can file a FAFSA, so that, you know, if you can file a FAFSA, that's your way of applying for federal and state aid. The VASA application is only for students who cannot file a FAFSA, they're ineligible to, and would like to still look into being qualified for state financial aid. And so this is information about who can file a FAFSA. Eligible non-citizens can file FAFSA. And so this describes what that is, and then also give some examples. And then here it just says, based on the information above, should you complete the FAFSA? For today, I will say no, because I'm not eligible to complete a FAFSA based on that information. And I'll click continue. So this process is very similar to any other account creation process. You're going to provide a permanent email address, something that'll stay with you regardless of when you graduate high school. You want to have access to this email. If you transfer colleges, you want to have access to this email address. All right, so a permanent email address here, and it has to be different for the parent. So if you will require that a parent sign, if you're under the age of 24, you're dependent, then you need to make sure that your parent uses a different email address. All right, and you're going to confirm your email address. And then you want to create a strong password, and that information is below to help you do that. And make sure you record this information so you have it when you need to sign in again. And I'll click that I'm not a robot and continue. All right, so here it says, please validate your email. So it has sent me an email that I need to verify my email address. So I will click on this link here as instructed, and then it thanks me for validating my account. Now I'll click continue. Now that I've created my account, I'll use that same login information to access my account and start my application. And now you click sign in. All right, so now it's going to ask for some basic information to finish setting up my account. Ask your first name, last name, social security, DACA, or ITIN number. I'm going to leave that blank because I don't have one. So I will leave this one blank and then the second field blank. And then date of birth, we'll put here. And then it says institution issued student identification number. Many students won't know this, especially if you haven't accepted your admission or hadn't been assigned to you because they have not determine what your ID number will be. And so I would say leave this blank if you're unsure. You may have multiple ID numbers. And of course, you can only put one here. And so I would say just to leave that blank. There's enough information in the application for the school to be able to match you up in their system. Click done. All right, so here you'll see just some notes to help you determine which application you need to file. If you're going to go to school fall 2023, and start in fall 2023, you would need to do the 2023-24 VASA application. So this is the dashboard. You'll see there are also useful links, that you can get to, and then the documents here. So to start an application, you would click on documents. And then for today, I'm going to do the 23-24 application. So I would click review and update, and then start, edit, or complete a form. All right, so it's already pre-populated my first name. Middle initial, I'll just leave blank because I don't have one. Last name is there. For today, I will say a male. My marital status is single. And here are the notes that you can find under most of the questions that will help you determine how you should answer each question. All right, date of birth is already pre-filled. And now click next. Driver's license. For today, I'll say no license. If I did have a license, it would require me to put the driver's license number below. But for today, I'll just say no license. I will again leave this social security DACA or ITIN number blank, field blank, since I don't have one, and click next. Now it's asking for my permanent mailing street address. So I'll type that in. It's asking for city and state. All right, a permanent mailing zip code. And then residency information. Student state, country of residence. I will say my state of residence is Virginia. And then did you become a full-time resident of the state / country you entered above before January 1, 2018? I will say yes. contact information. I will put my phone number here. And then it has already pre-filled my email address using the email address I entered to create my account. So now I'll click next. All right, selective service. I certify that I am in compliance with federal selective service registration requirements. For me, that means I was required to register and did, but not everyone will be required when they're completing this form, especially you may have some 17-year-olds who have not turned 18 yet, and so therefore cannot register for selective service. If that's the case, then you're still in compliance because you cannot register until 18. There is a link here that you can go to help you determine who should register if you're not already registered. And again, this is just for males. You would go to that link. And then if you need to register, you would go ahead and do that process, and you can always come back to your application if you were required to register and needed to do so. So once I check that box, I'll select next. It's asking for high school information. Before I start there, let me point out that as I go through each section, as I complete each section, there's going to be a green check mark. So that'll let you know student demographics has been completed. Now I'm under educational plans. And so now I need to provide my high school information. I have a high school diploma from a high school, name of high school, high school city, high school state. All right, educational plans, expected grade level in college. So I'm doing the 23-24 application. And so starting fall 2023, I will be a first year or freshman, never have attended college. So I'll select that. What college degree or certificate will you be working on when you begin the 23-24 school year? I will be working on a general associate's degree. All right, completed first bachelor's degree. That's automatically populated to no based on my answers here. Always check though to make sure the information is correct. So I will keep that at a no. All right, dependency details. So the next several questions are going to help determine whether or not you're dependent or independent. If you are a dependent, it will require your parent information. So it says, do you have children who receive more than half of their support from you between July 1, 2023 and June 30, 2024? I will say no here. Do you have dependents other than your children or spouse who live with you and who receive more than half of their support from you now through June 30, 2024? I will say no. Are you currently serving on active duty in the U.S. Armed Forces or are a National Guard or Reserve enlistee called into federal active duty for purposes other than training? I will say no. Again, there are notes under each question to help you determine how to answer those. Are you a veteran of the U.S. Armed Forces? No. At any time since you turned 13, were both of your parents deceased, or were you in foster care, or were you a dependent or ward of the court? I will say no. Are you now, or were you an emancipated minor as determined by a court in your state of legal residence? No. Does someone other than your parent or step-parent have legal guardianship of you as determined by a court in your state of legal residence? No. At any time on or after July 1, 2022, did your high school or school district homeless liaison determine that you were an unaccompanied youth who was homeless or was self-supporting and at risk of being homeless? No. And the rest of the questions here are going to be very similar to that one, asking if a director of emergency shelter or transitional housing program determined that you were unaccompanied youth who was homeless or self-supporting and at risk of being homeless. No. Similar question, but from a director of a runaway or homeless youth basic center or transitional living program. I will say no and go next. All right, so here are my two options. It says I can check my application requires parent information before submission, continue with the application process. There's also a second option that says I will be unable to provide parent information on this application due to special circumstances. Most dependent students are going to be required to provide parent information. Down here, you'll see some bullet points. It kind of explains what some special circumstances are that may prevent you from providing parent information. And then it also says not all situations are considered special circumstances. So for example, if you just don't live with your parents, that's not a special circumstance that would allow you to say that you're unable to provide your parent information. If you are confused, you have questions, you can always contact the College Financial Aid Office to ask them if your situation may fall as under a special circumstance. So for today, I will say my application requires parent information before submission and click next. All right, so I will keep this here, but there are other options. My parents' marital status, I will keep as married or remarried. They're asking for the marital status date. All right. And then I will say 3 in the household. I'll keep that, but there are other options. And parents' household number in college will just be me. And then I'll click next. Now it's going to ask for parent information for both of your parents since you said they were married or remarried. So for this, I'll say my parent 1 doesn't have a social. And in this case, for the parents, they want you to enter all zeros. Parent last name, parent first name, parent's date of birth, highest level of education, parent 1 completed, I'll say college or beyond. And now it is asking for parent 2 social security number. Put all zeros here because my parent 2 also doesn't have a social security number. Parent 2 last name, parent 2 first name, parent 2 date of birth, highest level of education, parent 2 completed. I will say high school. All right, parent's primary email address. This again should be a permanent email address that will stay with them regardless of where they are. So you may want to refrain from a work email address, for example. And then you'll want to use an email address for the parent who's going to sign the application. All right. Parents' residency, I will keep at Virginia. Were they a resident before January 1, 2018? I will say yes and click next. All right. Now it's asking me about my parents' income tax return status. I will say already completed, filed. They filed as married, filed jointly for their tax filing status. Parents' type of income tax return, I'll say 1040. Parents' eligibility to file a Schedule 1. I'll say don't know. There are notes here to help you determine that, and you can, of course, should be working with your parent anyway, so hopefully they can help you answer that question. Your parents' adjusted gross income from their income tax return. All right, parents' taxes paid from income tax return. Just making up numbers here. Parent 1, income earned from working. Parent 2, income earned from working. Now it says, as of today, are either of your parents a dislocated worker? I will keep that at a no. Parents 2021 or 2022 federal benefits. Here it's asking, did you, your parents, or anyone in your parents' household receive benefits from the federal, from any federal benefit program such as Medicaid, Social Security, SNAP benefits, free or reduced price school lunch? I will say no, just for today. Parents' assets, how much cash, savings, checking account amounts, total those. I'll put that amount here. Parents' real estate or investment net worth, I'll say 0. You can't leave it blank. You at least have to put 0 if that's the case. Parents' businesses or farm net worth, I'll put 0. Next. Parents' educational credits, I will say 0. Parents' child support paid, 0. Parents' combat pay, 0. And next. Parents' pension payments, 0. Parents' IRA payments, 0. Parents' child support received, 0. Parents' interest income, 0. Parents' military or clergy allowances, 0. Parents' veterans non-education benefits, 0. Parents' other untaxed income, 0. And click next. Now it's taking me to the student tax information. I will put here that I will not file because I did not work as a student. And click next. It'll ask me for a few more questions, a little bit more information, a few more questions. So I'll say 0, income earned from working. Students' assets, I'll say 0. Students' real estate or investment net worth, 0. Students' businesses or farm net worth, 0. And click next. Students' child support paid, 0. Students' pension payments, 0. Students' child support received, 0. Students' military or clergy allowances, 0. Students' veterans non-educational benefits, 0. Students' other untaxed income, 0. Students' other non-reported money received, 0. And next. Again, there are notes under each field that will help you answer those questions. But for today, I'm just clicking no or 0 to move through the application. So now here's where you get to your school list. And this is where you will list which colleges or schools you want your application to go to. For today, I'll do Blue Ridge Community College, and I will live with my parents for my housing plan, and then I'll do a second community college, and I'll live off campus or other. All right, and you can list up to 10 here, but for today, I'll just do those 2 and click next. And now the e-signature tab will pop up here. This is where you'll e-sign your document, verify your information is correct, and then you can e-sign. So it says, great work. I'm completing all the required steps for the VASA application. You can choose another option down here to allow you to do a manual signature process, but the e-signature process is going to be a much quicker option and get the application to the schools faster. So I will click e-sign document. The instructions here are going to tell you to click the download icon, because before you e-sign, it wants you to verify that the information you have entered is correct. So it will download your application. You will click on it, review it. It'll open up a PDF. You'll review it, make sure everything's correct. If you see any errors there, this is a good time to go back through the section and then fix those errors before you try to e-sign the application. Just as an example, a lot of students have made errors in the parent information tab, and so even a birth date might be incorrect that you need to look into, email address for the parent. You'll want to make those corrections before you click that you acknowledge that all information provided on the VASA application is true and correct. That'll save you a lot of time later if you review that application PDF prior to completing the e-signature. So then I'll hit next here. And it's asking for my first name again. Put Santana, last name Test, and it shows you here above the field what you originally entered. That has to match up in order for you to e-sign. Then put your password that you created for your account and click sign. All right, so here you see now it says that your application is in a needed status and request parent signature. So that's your next step. You need to send an email to your parent and ask that they e-sign the application as well. So you'll click here, request parent signature. I'm going to send it to Sandy Test, my mother. And then I will click here, send invitation. And it tells me here that the parent invitation has been sent. All right, and so as a student right now, I'm done and I can log out. It's important that you log out and you close all VASA application related windows before your parent clicks on the link to create an account for their e-signature process. So I'm going to close out all the VASA application portal windows that I have open here. Let me make sure I have everyone. The launch page is fine. All right, I have closed them all. Let me get to the email invitation. All right, so you'll see it says signature request from the VASA application. And it says, Dear Sandy Test, Santana Test has requested your signature on the Virginia Alternative State Aid application. So you'll want to scroll down, especially a parent who has not done this before. And you want to click here, create an account. All right, it will open up and already have pre-filled the parent email address that was used for the invitation. Now the parent just has to create a strong password. I'm not a robot. Click continue. Ah, password didn't match. Let's see here. Try that again. All right, so now it's saying to please validate your email address. Okay, so I will click on this email, and just like with the student, the parent has to validate their email address. So I will click this link as instructed. And then it says, thank you for validating your account. Click continue. And now's the time where I will sign in as the parent. All right, so it's going to ask for a few more things to validate my account. It's going to ask for my first name. All this information needs to match up with what you put in the application on the student side. My last name, my last four of SSN. It should also say DACA or I-10 number. But if you didn't have either of those or any of those, you would just put all 4 zeros here because that's what you put in the application, zeros. And then the date of birth, it must match up as well. All right, click done. All right, and then the parent doesn't have all of the information that the student's dashboard has. So as you can see, though, you say review and update, and then there's an option to sign the form. Parent will read this information, click e-sign document. They too have to download the application to review it. Once it's downloaded and you've looked at it, you can say, I acknowledge that all information provided on the VASA application is true and correct. Click next, and then the same signature process. First name, Sandy. Last name, Tess, and then the password here. And then click sign. All right, and it'll say you're all caught up on required documents. If you ever want to see the documents, you should have one under satisfied, and you can just say show all documents, and you can see that here. I'm going to show you what it looks like on the student side. We get quite a few questions from students about where to find their EFC or expected family contribution. So the student, I'm logged in again as Santana Test. I'll click here. Because you satisfied, or I satisfied the 23-24 application, it's moved down to the bottom. You can see here to the right, it says satisfied. You can also click show all documents. And that's the documents I have here, just those two. And then you can click review and update, and that's how you'll see the application you've completed. So it's most likely the second attachment is going to be the attachment that has the student's EFC, because that's usually the attachment that has the parent's signature for a dependent student. Independent students are going to just have one attachment. So I'll scroll down, and the EFC is right above the certification and signature section. So that's where you'll see the EFC. In this case, it's saying my EFC is 170. All right, and if you need to make changes to your application, you would click Edit Completed Form, and that will open your application back up so that you can begin to make changes. Just know that once you do that, it's going to create a second version of your 23-24 application, for example. And then you would see, once you make the changes, you complete the e-signature process again for student and parent, then you would see a second version of the application there for you to review. All right. And so last thing, after you submit your application, you should check to make sure it's satisfied, which we just did. Within a few business days, the colleges that you listed on your application will have access to view it. And then following the colleges, their own timelines, they will review your application and determine if you qualify for state aid. If you are eligible for state aid, they will then post the award to your student account. So I recommend that you monitor your student account for any updates and feel free to contact your college's financial aid offices if you have any questions about the status of your application or your aid. Hope this was helpful. Thank you.